So guys, I thought part one of this series was really shocking and eye-opening, but boy, was that just getting us warmed up. And the whole thing of part of what made the inability to defend the palace to defend Meghan, and on and on about the palace is supposed to defend Meghan. How do you defend Meghan? How? I'd love to know, because it's very hard once you're a public figure and once people have trolls, right, saying things about you. Sometimes the best thing to do is to ignore those people. Do as Andrew did. Andrew just disappeared and just faded into the background. He wants nothing to do with anything. He's not out parading, doing social justice things. He's not trying to create books and cookbooks and have a podcast and do anything. He's literally just silent. I mean, I watched as some of these people were talking, right? I don't know if they're journalists. I'm not even sure what their title is. But these people, they're talking about the Commonwealth and all this stuff. I think it's actually more damaging now to the Commonwealth, the coverage of Meghan. I mean, they tried to drum up this idea that here's a woman, right? It says right here, that looked like most of the people in the Commonwealth. And I'm thinking, not to me at all, not one bit. She's probably got a little bit of tan or something, but she doesn't look like everybody in the Commonwealth. I'm actually I grew up in a country that was a part of the Commonwealth. And of course they put the statistics of, to remove the Queen as head of state in Jamaica, 59%, we're trying to say they don't want, and we all remember the coverage of this. We remember Kate and William going to all the, countries in the Caribbean, and not getting the support that they thought they were going to get in some of those countries, right? I mean, this lady, she is exactly what you would call those professors that just try to create problems, right? That just want to say this is about race. And, right here, she says that the most intractable traditional parts of Britain can reform and evolve. She was trying to say that by Meghan marrying into this family, it shows that, they can change, that basically they're not racist. And I'm thinking to myself, implying stuff about people that you don't really know is one of the hardest things. Like even me, I try to stay very clear of saying anything too harsh about these people. I don't know them personally. I mean, I could tell you what narcissistic traits look like and things like that, and people how they acted out, right? Meghan and Harry has not gone away and just sit quietly. That would have been, from a publicist standpoint, that would have been the best advice I would have given them, is to just lay low, let this stuff ride out, and just ignore the press. But that's not what they did, right? They said, but when the same lie is given credibility by journalists and publishers, it just perpetuates the lie. Now, I do agree to some extent in that, but by not even batting an eye to this, it would have gone away. So part one was crazy enough of this docuseries with Meghan and Harry. But here in part two, we start to get into the real deal, right? We start to find out what really happened in their relationship with the monarchy and with the institution, quote unquote. And I really wanted them to get into the nuts and bolts of what really caused them to leave and what really created the rift within the royal family. And boy, did they not disappoint. So if you don't want spoilers, keep scrolling. So this is Meghan here with all of her friends, at her baby shower in New York City. Now, she did claim that she did not need taxpayer money for this. This was hosted by her friends that are all rich, apparently 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 white women, and Serena Williams. So that baby shower, guys, we just have to explain it because Meghan does not want you guys to believe that she needed your money. And there's a beautiful picture of Meghan pregnant with Archie, looking out the window. And then where we ended up, having our baby and stuff. So she moved around quite a bit, by the way, in this docuseries, the second part. I didn't realize they had moved so much. I guess I forgot how many times they were trying to figure out where they wanted to go. And a big, huge part of that was because they really wanted to still stay within the institution and serve the institution, but they didn't want to be the butt of the joke. They didn't want to be the people attacked constantly and scrutinized in the media. Now, I do want to point out one thing that I did in one of my videos way way back when. We all know having babies is a huge deal, right? Getting married is a huge deal. It takes away the attention from whatever else is going on in the room, right? Somebody says they're pregnant, woohoo, people are going crazy. If somebody says they're getting married, even more so. I believe that after watching this, it dawned on me that a huge part of this was a distraction away from Andrew and other things happening within the royal family. It's almost like Harry knew that bringing Meghan into the fold, a person of color, right, a mixed race person, would distract from some of the things going on with his family. Now, I don't know that he had any motive in this. I'm creating that thought process myself, but I truly believe that he knew, because when I watched this documentary, he kept saying things like, I wish the institution would have accepted Meghan. I wish they would have opened their arms to her and understood how much she could have really helped change the face of the monarchy, right? Especially with them being a part of this huge institution that has the Commonwealth nations. And, you know, when obviously Archie was born, African Americans or people who had any kind of mixed race were extremely elated that, you know, Meghan is in this royal family because they felt included, even in the smallest of way, right? We get to see a glimpse of her life. We get to see the nanny that she chose, who took very good care of baby Archie. Seen there, he's so cute. You know, she asked to put the baby on her back and walk around the grounds, and just, you know, I'm just like shocked at the level of, you know, help that she had. She had her mom there for a month. Her mom says in the documentary she was there for a month. And then she had her nanny. Guys, most of us can't afford nannies, you know, most people can't. Meghan obviously was going through some postpartum depression, in my opinion, because she keeps talking about how depressed she was and depressed she was. Now, as a mom of 3 myself, my third child, I did have depression. I did suffer some severe postpartum depression. You're the Duchess, you know, you could have gone and got help. She talked about that first trip, that first tour with Archie and bringing her child along, and how, you know, you just have to muddle through all of this. Now, I don't feel like even in the slightest bit, like, I'm sorry, I watched this and I did try to open my eyes to the concept that, yeah, it's hard being a person of color and being amongst those type of people, but you knew what you were marrying into. This isn't something that's like a shocker to me. If you know what kind of family you're marrying into, then none of this should come as a surprise. The same thing with Harry. Now, that bugs me a lot to know that Harry did not even try to like include her father. He just admitted in the first part of the series that, well, you know, now she doesn't have a relationship with her dad and that's my fault, and now we're blah, 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 move on. So it's just shocking to me that you just kind of like, they gloss over the fact that, like, how do you eliminate your family from everything, right? So I think there's something deeper in both of these two, that they want to isolate themselves. Maybe that's their personality, is they like the isolation. But you know what kind of family you are going into, and you know what kind of institution. I mean, all you have to do is read up about the British monarchy and you'd know how, you know, nose turned up and how stiff upper lip and all of that stuff that comes along with being in the monarchy. And of course they brought race into it because they have two people that are, I don't know if they're like teachers or whatever in this docuseries, but the most talked about mixed race couple to make their entrance on their first tours. And it's just like, I knew race was going to come into this, but the extent of the race was baffling to me, because it's like, again, you know what you're getting married into, you know what the situation is, and it's just not, that's not surprising. But we get lots of cute pictures of her hugging Archie, and, you know, I'm sure there's more pictures to come. I haven't finished watching the complete second part, but I just had to get on this. Now I want to start going into some of my theories, right? Because obviously a lot of us people that are onlookers, we all have theories about what really went wrong. Some people think it's race. Some people think it's, you know, jealousy within the institution. Maybe the brothers have some sort of rift. Maybe, you know, Harry's putting himself in a situation where he's trying to be a social justice warrior. There's tons of ideas on what's going on. But there's two things I think is really at play here. One is the fight with the media. Harry still has not gotten over his mother's death. I said this in my first video. He has never healed from that, and he still identifies paparazzi and media as a threat. And this is why he was so threatened by Tom Markle, Meghan's father, even having a conversation with the press or even getting paid by the press, which is interesting because at the beginning of this series, actually in the middle of the series, Harry says, people will do anything for money. Those were his words, right? They'll sell pictures, they'll sell things. And I'm thinking that's very, very hypocritical, because what do you call this? $100 million Netflix deal. So you have that. You have the situation there with the media, right? He's not gotten over that. And then the second part is the fact that he feels that his wife, because she's a person of color, should have different protocols put in place. But what he doesn't understand is his grandmother was a very play by the book woman. We saw that over the course of her life. She only wanted to do what was dutiful. She didn't care about press. She didn't care about all of that. She did what she can to minimize those things, but she didn't really necessarily protect anyone. Andrew lost his titles, just so you know. Andrew is no longer with title, Prince Andrew, right? But to make that go away, I think a huge part of this is let's get the distraction, let's get the story and the coverage on Meghan and Harry. And they took the bait, falling apart at the press coverage of them. You know how there's the evil villain, the antagonist in Aladdin, Jafar? I think there's a Jafar in the monarchy. I think there's somebody in their communications team that is a person that's a plant, that just likes to create crazy media coverage about the royal family, and they don't care. They just want to constantly drum up media attention for the royal family. And I think there's something like that happening, because there's a lot of talk in this part 2 of all the coverage and all these stories and things being planted and things about them. And it's kind of like their comms team all are working against each other. And, it feels very planted.